Over the years, Elgato has been putting out arguably the best streaming tech out in the market. Like in 2021, they released the first dedicated webcam, Elgato Facecam, which offered a 1080p 60fps image with manual control in their Camera Hub software. And shortly after, Facecam Pro came out and completely changed the game in 2022 after being the world's first webcam to have 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. With its DSLR mirrorless camera quality and the $299 price point, it made buying a dedicated camera for streaming even tougher to justify. But now, here in 2024, Elgato's not only released another product line called Neo, which features Facecam Neo, they've taken their new technology and features over the years and released Facecam Mk2, which we're going to be talking about today. In this video, we're going to go over quite a bit. We'll go over the usual unboxing, we'll talk about its features, I'll even compare it to every Facecam Elgato has to offer. I'll even show you how to get the very best image out of Facecam Mk2. And lastly, stay to the end when I share my personal thoughts. But before I begin, I do have to acknowledge that yes, I am an Elgato partner, which just means that I do get information and products prior to the release dates, which in return just helps me to make better content for you. But as for this video, Elgato's not seeing this before it's posted or tell me what to say or to do. So let's begin. Facecam Mk2 branding says the typical same stuff, matches all the prior Facecams. However, it is now plastic free and states that the product is made of 60% repurposed plastic. Inside, you're going to be receiving the user guide and manual, a USB-A to USB-C cable, and Facecam Mk2 with its attached monitor mount. Right off the bat, Facecam Mk2 looks like the Facecam Pro's little brother, sharing almost the same design to a T, minus the size adjustment and swapping the heatsink to the inside. On top, you'll get the Elgato logo engraved and the name printed on its side. At the back, you'll have a USB-C port, and underneath you'll find a rubber grommet around the 1/4 inch thread for mounting support. In the front, they've attached the LED light that indicates signal or error, and on the other side, text with the specs of the Facecam Mk2. But probably the biggest change is the addition to a privacy window being integrated into Facecam itself. Just like the sharing of Facecam designs, the mount also shares the same format but with a size adjustment. The mount is super solid with 3 main parts, with an additional rubber grommet around the thumb screw, and of course the Elgato logo on its back. With rubber on its base, the midsection, and the lip of the mount, you'll have enough adjustment support and even the ability for top-down angles. The USB cable came bundled in a circular shape, way better than previously crimped oval shape, which means that I'm not going to have to bend in order to shape it straight. A major addition is the use of labeling on the USB-C side, labeled its speed, and the Elgato logo on the USB-A side. Now, you Canon fanboys like myself might be hurt to know that the Facecam continues to get its image quality from using the Sony Starvis CMOS sensor. Yeah, I know. And unlike Elgato's other Facecam, this is the first to offer high dynamic range video, but continues to offer uncompressed video formats for the highest quality possible. Paired with Elgato's 24mm f2.4 lens, you get an 84-degree field of view and a focus range of 30 to 120 centimeters. So now you know all the technical specs, you know what comes in the box. We're going to be comparing it again, like I said in the beginning, to Facecam Neo, Mk1, to Facecam Pro, and of course show you Mk2. We'll give you a few seconds just to see each image by itself, but we'll also stack them up side by side so that you can see how each one looks. So now you saw them side by side. I don't want to give too much information, but I was super impressed with how it stacked up against the others. More specifically, how it looks to Facecam Pro, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Now what I'm going to do is take you through a full walkthrough of Camera Hub software so you can get the very best image out of Facecam Mk2. And if you like the content so far, please like it, drop a comment, and let's get started with the tutorial. All right, here we are in the Camera Hub software. I'm gonna give you a quick overview of the software so you know what to do, what not to do. And then we're gonna be doing camera settings so we can get the best image from our Facecam Mk2. So right off the bat, I absolutely love the grid lines. It helps me keep my composition. If you look at my eyes are right on that line. I'm centered in the middle and it just looks good. If that's something you don't wanna have on all the time, you can just click right here on the right, but you just turn it on like that. This next is the preview button. If I turn it off, I get removed, and just like that. However, I want to be able to see this, so yeah, keep it on. We got 3 tabs here at the top left. We got our camera, we have our effects, and we have prompter. Now prompter is blacked out. I don't have my Elgato prompter connected. However, if you do have an Elgato prompter, that will show up. You'll be able to get all those features and controls right there. But if you see right here, I got mirror. It just flips the image left and right, and then I have flip. Now because I do have my Mk2 Facecam upside down, it helps me out. I'm able to flip it into the correct orientation. And then you see right here, AI background. Unfortunately, because I don't have an NVIDIA graphics card anymore, this is blacked out. Any of these AI features, you're not going to be able to use if you have an AMD GPU. So don't get scared or anything. These are basically for NVIDIA only. And the same thing for the AR effects. You have eye contact. So say that you turned it on, it's going to follow your eyes, which I think is super cool. And if you click this, it says GPU does not support the effects. You need an RTX 2060 or higher. But it's nothing too crazy. I mean, whenever you're like taking a Zoom call and you have a Mk2 without an NVIDIA GPU, that software does all those types of backgrounds. But this is just for streaming. So anyway, let's go on to our main camera right here. So right here is going to say if we want to do a factory reset or if we want to do any updates. I don't need an update, so we're basically good. And then save this. This is going to save all your settings. If you do have multiple face cams or you got a cam link, it's going to show up here. I do have my cam link connected, and then of course the Mk2. So you can switch between those, but I'm going to stay on Facecam Mk2. One of the cool features about this software is you can frame however you choose. For instance, I have framing right here, basically right at my face if I want to be a little bit closer to you. And then, hey, I'm an Elgato partner. You can see my logo right there. Let's go. Or hey, I'm about to be working on some more videos. Make sure you're subscribed because we got racing sims coming. You can do that. However, one of the things I did notice, it's a whole lot slower than the Facecam Pro when it comes to the movement, but it's generally the same type of functions, which is still good. Now, in order to save any of those presets, you want to just zoom to the designated area. I'm gonna go to the keyboards. I'm gonna zoom in and position it right here. And then all you got to do is just hold it down and it's saved. You got the saved button and then just toggle between. There you go. You do also have the options for pan and tilt, which I don't know. I just like moving this. And you also have the adjustment for zoom and zoom in, but using this is a whole lot better, and then just moving the blue little box just kind of makes things a little bit easier to do. One of the main things about this Facecam is it's one of the first to have HDR, which means that your highlights are going to have a lot more information, as well as the shadows and the dark areas of your image. So if you have a room or you have a setting that's very contrasty, meaning you have lots of light in some areas and lots of darkness in some other areas, that's actually something that you'd want to be able to use so that you can make sure to keep all that information within your image. Now I'm going to make sure that I have everything reset because I want to show you guys just how to get the image currently like what I'm getting. So this is just bland. This is everything reset. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn the dynamic resolution to on. And right off the bat, it brings life into my image. It's actually a whole lot better. But one of the things I noticed when it came to turning HDR on is that it softens up the sharpness. So you want to be able to raise that up just to get a better image. So now how I gauge these is I like to slide the slider left and right until it gets a little bit intense, and then I lower it back. So 83% when the HDR is on seems like a good fit to me. And then now I'm going to start from the very beginning so that I can get a good image. So contrast, this is basically going to darken or lighten your image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same technique. I'm going to go all the way to the left, go all the way to the right, And it seems like with HDR turned on, you want to have a little bit more contrast. One of the areas that I'm looking at is the black wave panels. I want them to be black, but I don't want them to be like super black. So go and then back off just a little bit like that. So 88% right there. Now saturation is going to really bring color in, but when it comes to your skin tone, it's going to make it like just disgusting. So we look here, like I'm orange. We don't want that. If I go all the way to the left, you have no color. So I want to look at my face and see where it looks ugly and then pull back. 51 looks a little bit washed out, so I might do like 52, 53. 53 seems like a good spot. And again, with sharpness, we've already touched that, so we don't need to touch it. So overall, this looks really good. One of the main things on this that I would not recommend, like I didn't recommend on the Facecam 4K, was to use the automatic features on this, because typically that's not going to give you a good image. However, with the updates to Camera Hub software and the new whatever it is inside the Mark II, you actually get a really good image. I was playing with this a little bit before this, and you know, I have a really high-end camera. I also have a cinema camera, so I know how to get an image. But for whatever reason, when I turned the automatic exposure off, I was just not getting it. So I'm going to try and play with it right now. If it's not as good as what the automatic is giving us right now, that's what I'm going to have to recommend, because I have like this conspiracy or this thought that the exposure settings on here aren't like true. The values don't really mean what they mean. They say they are, but I don't think they react in the manner that an actual camera reacts. And I think that's just because it's not a camera, it's a webcam. So there are some limitations, but they try to be as professional as possible. So let's turn this off. And yeah, you look at that and it just looks horrible, completely underexposed. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my ISO. ISO is light gain. The higher ISO I have, the more light I'll have. However, it's also going to increase the grain. So to get a very clean image, you want to have your ISO basically as low as possible. I'm going to keep this at 100 and see wherever we can compensate to get a cleaner image. So now with having the ISO as low as possible so we can have a clean image, the next thing to really mess with is the shutter speed. Now the rule of this is that if you're shooting at 60 FPS, you want to have a shutter speed of 120, or if you're shooting at 30 FPS, you want to have a shutter speed of 60, basically double of what your frame rate is. So we're shooting at 60 FPS, so ideally we want to be at 120. So if I'm just following the rules of what a camera is, this image should actually look good. However, this looks horrible. For whatever reason, this looks horrible. I don't even have anything else. Like, I'm not able to control the f-stop, meaning how much light was going through the actual lens. This is it, and it's horrible. So now the next thing for us to do is to increase the lighting. So we can see right here, if I pull up my software, so I have my light at 7%. This is my left light, and then I have my right light at 17. So let's go ahead and increase our light. I'm at 100% on my right light. I'm at 100% on my left light. Now the skin tone's coming a little bit better. However, the room is still dark. I got a backlight on. That's on like 100% too. So again, the rules of what this is just like, I don't know why it's doing that. I really don't know why. So the next thing that I would do is, even though we're shooting 60 FPS and you want to be at a shutter speed of 120, we can get some more light from that. So let's actually just move it back. Let's just match our FPS, and we have it at 60 FPS. So there, I feel like we're getting a decent image. I'm exposed correctly. However, the room is like, I would have to add more light to my room, and I could do that, but I'm not going to move around. I know you guys really might not do that. You want to just set up and get ready. So this is why I go back to the automatic exposure, because I've done what is right when it comes to a real camera, and it just does not operate that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the automatic, and wow, that is a difference. You can stop the video, go back to what the other image is, and then come back to this point, and you're going to see that I'm lit a whole lot better, or basically the same I would actually say, because it's an automatic exposure, but the room is just lit up so much better. It's even across the board. It's not like me super bright, the background super dark. It's like, no, I'm exposed correctly and the back is exposed correctly. So that's why I have to say, when you're using the Mark II, you want to have your automatic exposure turned on. It's weird. I mean, some people say you want to use manual only when you're using a camera, and it's against like camera rules to be automatics, but hey, I said it. But use the automatic is going to give you a way cleaner image. Now there's a few things that you can do to adjust this. I'm going to actually lower my lights down back because I'm freaking blinding myself, and even when I do that, you can see how the image is shifting itself and it's still keeping the nice exposure. Like it's holding an exposure really, really well. So if we go to metering is what's going to tell the sensor, hey, this is how I want you to determine the brightness. So average is going to get the average of the entire room. And then if we go to center weighted is just going to get what's in the center and like my face. And then if we go to the spot's just going to get straight right here. So spot is something that I would recommend if you want to do like product reviews, or you're showing a product on your stream and might not have a lot of light. Use a spot and it's going to be able to show that subject. I personally like center weighted. Center weighted seems to be getting the best for my environment, or you can just use average. I mean, average doesn't look too bad either. Let me actually go back and see. In my environment, it looks the same, but what I do know is for average, if you have tons of light, say you have RGB in the back, we went through this little experiment last time in the other review. If you have average on and you have a bright light, or you have tons of RGB, it's going to pick that up and then it's going to lower, and therefore you're going to be darker. So that's why I say center weighted, you're the subject, that's going to be the best option. So now here we go, and it's actually set it to 1/40th of a second and ISO at 243. So we can tell right there, that's basically what would be the best settings. And then we do have our brightness. It does give us control. We can actually brighten it a little bit. I don't think I need to. When I raise it, I can tell right here that I'm losing a little bit of information. So I'm going to leave it right here. Brightness at 58 gives a pretty fair image. So now moving on to the white balance, one of the main things I did notice was the difference was that I don't have tint on here. All I have is color temperature. For whatever reason, maybe it just doesn't have the type of software in the Facecam. So now you're only down to the temperature. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn automatic off. It's set to 500 Kelvin. I'm looking at my lights. I have my light set to 4700 Kelvin. So you'd want to match that. So here's a 4700 Kelvin. It really doesn't matter if you got bright white lights or really warm toned lights. Ideally, you would want to match it. So even if I turn this, I'm going to put like 32, or I'm going to go to 29. Super exaggerative. You can see how everything just looks orange now, but the white balance is set to 4700 Kelvin. I'm going to just set it to 29 and see what it does. So I'm going to lower it down, set it to 29. And it's super blue. I mean, my skin tone looks similar, but no, we don't want to do that. So we want to have something a little bit realistic. So let me put my key lights to 47. I'm putting my other key light to 47. We're putting the color temperature to 47. Yeah, and it's good. I look a little bit pink on here for whatever reason. So let me give myself a little bit of white light just to kind of tone it out a little bit. And that's the trick. It's like you can match your Kelvin temperatures accordingly, but maybe you look too white. I would actually darken up your lights a little bit, lower the Kelvin temperature, or like what I just did, I looked super orange and like not good, so I lightened it up. I raised this light's at 6000 Kelvin, this light's to 4700 Kelvin, and then my color temperature is set to 47. So whatever's your key light, you'll be able to adjust your actual skin temperature that way. Now, unfortunately, I see like, I mean, it looks neutral. The color of my shirt's gray. The shirt looks a little bit blue on my monitor for whatever reason. If I go a little bit to 48, it starts to turn a little bit green. And the skin tone, a little bit pinkish. This is where tint comes into play. Unfortunately, we don't have that tint feature, so we're gonna have to just make do with what we have. But overall, put it back to 47. Looks good, looks fair. I'm looking at both my monitors. My monitor over here is just an IPS monitor. It's actually color calibrated. It's great. I'm using an OLED monitor in front of me. It's not color calibrated. It looks almost the exact same. You let me know what you think. Is this something you like? Is it something you're not? Yeah, I'm actually digging it a whole lot. And last but not least, we do have noise reduction. I do have it off because when you're streaming and you have this, you're gonna be like a small little box. Sometimes you might be a big screen. No one's really gonna see that noise, but the effects of noise reduction is strong, meaning if I go to high, you're not gonna see any of the noise. But what it is gonna do is gonna make my skin a whole lot softer. It's not gonna be as sharp, and it's gonna look a little bit like not good in my opinion. That's why I would like to keep all the definitions. Like here, you can see the hairs on my face, they're growing back. You do see noise right here. You can, if you want, turn it on light noise reduction, and it does a little bit better. What I've seen to work good is medium. I don't really see too much as far as any of the noise here, and I would ideally just sharpen it a little bit more so I get some good image. But when it's being so compressed and it's going through the streams and people are watching it at 720, 360, you might not even be streaming at 1080p, that noise honestly doesn't even matter. It's so compressed that people aren't even going to see that. So I would like to keep the detail. I need to actually lower my sharpness because now it's too sharp. I would like to keep the detail of the overall image and have the noise reduction off. So anti-flicker, if you do have any lights behind you or just even your main key lights, if they're flickering, you'll be able to tell. You can change whatever hertz it is. I'm having no issues, so I'm just going to keep it at 60. So that is a basic rundown as far as the Camera Hub software. So now you've seen everything. You see how it stacks out to all the other face cams. I've given you the tutorial. Now it's time for me to let you know what I think. Now I'm a little bit torn because I love Facecam Pro. Like, it's 4K, it's 4K 60 at that fact. It looks amazing. It's super sharp, but the high dynamic range in Facecam Mk2 is just like something that I absolutely love. I'm always looking for that more information in my colors, in my highlights, and in my low or the shadows. And that's something that Facecam Pro was just kind of lacking. More specifically, is like the skin tones. The skin tones looked okay, but as someone who makes production videos and for clients and gets paid for it, having natural colors and having like a natural look in a camera is like always going to be superior. And that's where Mark II comes in. The skin tone was super soft, and like I said in the tutorial, it looked how I looked in person. And now I don't want to backtrack what I said in my Facecam Pro video. I said that that is something that could replace your camera. You have all the resolution to be able to make even YouTube videos. You have all that resolution so you can zoom in and zoom out. Now that's not something that Mark II can do. And I don't think that it's like that good to replace your camera. But as a Facecam for streaming and doing Zoom calls, I do think that this is the best webcam. The best way that I can put it is like this. My camera shoots in a log profile, which gives me more dynamic range. That's what I ultimately like, and this Facecam does that in a sense. It gives me that more dynamic range. It gives me clearer highlights and it gives me clearer shadows. So yeah, I mean, that's what I like. That's what I like about it. The resolution, it could be better, but we're only streaming 1080p. No one's streaming 4K, and if you are, you're probably like up there. You're not just a normal person. And if you are a normal person streaming at 4K, you might want to reconsider that. But I think that's it, guys. I really have fun making these videos, so I would appreciate if you like, drop a comment, and subscribe if you're not. We got a lot in store. I'm going to be dropping a whole lot more videos and going to be making an announcement here soon. So I guess that's it. I will see you in the next one. Peace.